Hey guys, in today's video I will be doing once again another tropical update, and again of course we're going to be talking about Invest 98L, which is now getting very close to pretty much being right offshore of South and North Carolina. It has now a 60% chance of development within the next 2 days and a 70% chance of development within the next 5 days. And, as I predicted, I figured that by Wednesday we would really see the percentage chances for this system to develop to really increase, and that is what we are seeing. And this was the 8 a.m. advisory. We'll see what the 2 p.m. advisory says with this. It'll probably by then, might just keep it the same, and then we'll have to wait till the 8 p.m. advisory to really see this one. The percentage chances really start to increase again. But I gotta say, I really think that this could start to develop into a tropical depression at the least, getting towards tonight, and probably by tomorrow, honestly, by like noon, we should have our record earliest 6th-name storm on record, Tropical Storm Fay, which would beat Hurricane Franklin of 2005. As of right now, it says an elongated area of low pressure is located along the coast of northeastern South Carolina. The system is producing a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms over the adjacent Atlantic waters. The low is expected to move northeastward near or just offshore of the North Carolina Outer Banks on Thursday, and then offshore, and then turn northeastward and move along the Mid-Atlantic coast Friday. Environmental conditions are expected to be conducive for development, and a tropical or subtropical cyclone. By the way, I really think this will be a fully tropical cyclone, especially at the point at which now that we're at for tropical cyclones to form. I think once again this will be fully tropical, especially with just how far south it's getting off onto the waters. It looks to form really just far south enough that it will have a decent amount of warm waters to deal with. As it's starting to head up the coast. So it says that is likely. So a tropical subtropical cyclone is likely to form by within the next couple of days. And then it says, regardless of development, though, the low is expected to produce locally heavy rainfall that could cause some flash flooding across portions of eastern North Carolina, the coastal Mid-Atlantic, and southern New England during the next few days. Gusty winds are also possible in the North Carolina Outer Banks through Thursday. All right, so that's just through Thursday for the gusty ones, but again, I think the gusty winds will also be a factor for areas on the coastal Mid-Atlantic, coastal Northeast, coastal New England as well, especially once we get towards Friday, Saturday. There's that, and then here's the 5-day graphical outlook. You can see this is the area where the NHC thinks it will start to develop into a tropical system, and it's really it has a decent area that it is able to develop in, and really all the waters here are extremely warm, between 70 and I'd say 80, 85 degrees, honestly. So, it definitely has enough fuel for sea surface temperatures to really try and develop. Plus, it's not going to be dealing with any wind shear at all, with its trek going north, right next to the East Coast. So it really has perfect conditions to really develop. So, we'll really have to just keep watching this now throughout the rest of today, going into tomorrow. And of course, we'll see how it goes going into Friday, Saturday, as it starts to kind of really more affect the New York City, tri-state area, and New England. So now let's look at tropical tidbits. Let's show you the current satellite imagery for 98L right now. And we gotta let it load a good bit. But you can see that, from what I can show you. There we go. So you can see the current satellite imagery. You can see that there's just really decent convection all around as the center is now moving offshore of South Carolina into the Atlantic. All the convection is really blowing up nicely, and once we give it another few hours going through the rest of today into tomorrow, we'll really see it get a lot better convection, get a lot more wrapped around convection around the center, and we'll really see it start to develop a lot more. So that's the current satellite imagery for the system. Now let's look at the models. And I actually was just looking at the GFS model just a few minutes ago to see what it's showing for the system as it heads up the East Coast. And, once again, it's showing it right along the East Coast, heading north and going right through the tri-state area and of New York City, New Jersey, and Connecticut, going right through this area. And let's actually zoom in. We should zoom in here. You can see it's at 1,004 millibars, so, it's definitely right around a weak tropical storm, so, and the waters there will definitely support that, especially since it's also dealing with no wind shear at all, so, this thing could really try to start to get cranking a good bit, and you can see it'll bring some pretty heavy rain to the Delmarva, New Jersey, very southeastern Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Long Island, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and then as it heads farther inland to New England, gets decently heavy rain for upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, and then it'll dissipate by that point and it'll be over with. But yeah, you can see some decent rain will come along with the system heading into the beginning of this weekend. And I'll show you what the wind wind forecast is for the GFS right now. You can see again the winds are again around tropical storm force winds 34 knots and above, really 34 or 40 knots. Especially as we head into as it heads into land and makes landfall around New York City, New Jersey, going through Connecticut. The winds will really crank for those areas, and we'll get also, because of that, a very strong onshore flow kick up the ocean a bit. So, we could see some coastal flooding in some areas. So, you shouldn't be surprised if that happens, really. You could also see some flash flooding with potentially some of the heavy rainfall. In fact, let's look at how much total accumulated precip it shows for the system. And you can see the heaviest rain as of right now forecasted by the GFS shows 2+ inches for Delaware, very southern New Jersey, very eastern Pennsylvania, a portion of northwestern New Jersey. And you can see outside of that, it's really like 2 to 4 inches for these areas, and then around say around 1/2 inch to 2 inches for the blue areas. So yeah, for the blue areas, it's anywhere from really 1/2 inch to 2 inches, and then the green areas is anything less than that, really. Any rain accumulation at all, up to 1/2 inch. So, again, that's a pretty decent rainmaker for this kind of a system, really. And then let's look at I'll show you the winds now. Let's look at the vorticity with this system. And you can see as we head forward in time here, it gets very decent vorticity, gets nice wraparound, and pretty decently defined. And right as it goes through New York City, Connecticut, the tri-state area. So, really, from the Outer Banks of North Carolina up through southern coastal New England, the main effects from this is going to be pretty heavy rain, pretty strong winds, which will also kick up the ocean and create some maybe minor coastal flooding because of that. From coastal North Carolina, the Outer Banks, up through coastal New England as well. So, just prepare for a tropical storm, really, if you live around the Outer Banks of North Carolina up through coastal Virginia, the Delmarva, coastal New Jersey, New York City, Long Island, coastal Connecticut, coastal Rhode Island. Well, really, all of Connecticut, Rhode Island, if you live, especially along the Cape or around, the Cape of Massachusetts, if you live along there. Just really those areas, especially prepare for this system, because that's really, I think, the area that will be hardest hit, in all honesty. So now let's look at what the CMC shows for this system. Let's show you the precipitation for it first. And you can see there's the low pressure center, and you can see really just like the GFS kind of, it shows it heading right up through New York City, Long Island, Connecticut, the tri-state area, brings some decently heavy rain through that area. And so let's look at the total accumulated precipitation for this system going up through there. You can see, especially so for the tri-state area and Connecticut, around 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches, and then getting into Rhode Island, the Cape, Boston area, up through coastal New Hampshire, and very southern coastal Maine, 2 to 3 inches probably. So it's also still a decent rainmaker, especially on top of that with the strong winds that'll kick up the ocean. So still will add that ocean coastal flooding event will also probably add to that as well. Let's show you the winds now for this system. Bring this back. You can see again it shows tropical storm force winds. It even shows potentially like 46 to 52 knot winds. For when it's offshore of North Carolina and Virginia. And then you can see some we could potentially, according to the CMC, for New York City, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, the Cape, see sustained tropical storm force winds, maybe. We just really have to watch out for that. Again, just really, the CMC is agreeing with the GFS that, again, it will be a pretty big rainmaker, a decent, pretty strong wind event, which will also kick up the ocean as well. So, again, some coastal flooding is also possible, according to the CMC, for this system. And I'll show you now the vorticity for the system according to the CMC. You can see also still pretty decent vorticity with the system. Not as compact and well-defined as the GFS is showing, but still pretty decent for this type of system. Now I'll show you what the Euro is showing, the European model. And you can see there it shows the European model shows the system right off of South Carolina, starts to head north along the east coast. And you can see the pressure, it really drops, getting down towards 1,005, 1,004 millibars as it heads right through Long Island, Connecticut, Rhode Island. So we could really see a very direct impact again, by the way, from the system. And because of that, this is what will be New England's first major impactful and first really landfalling tropical system since Sandy, pretty much. So nearly 8 years have passed since then, and so we're overdue for it here in coastal New England, especially. So it's a good thing. And you can see, all right, I'll show you the winds now according to the Euro. Here we go. Get rid of this ad so you can see it better. Bring this back a little bit. Oh, crap. Sorry. Okay. You can see it comes off of South Carolina, starts heading north, gets some winds of up towards 35 to 40 knots. You can see there. Actually, if we go back a bit, you can see here, getting towards 35 to 40 knots. And even, getting right before kind of landfall and right as it makes landfall, getting towards again 40 knots. So the European is also hinting at potentially a weak tropical storm forming from this, and we'll really have to see. I really think that this will become Tropical Storm Fay. It's really looking likely. I figured this would happen anyway from the beginning, and honestly, for all those people who doubted this, I mean, look at what the NHC is forecasting right now for this system, and just look at what the forecast models are forecasting for the system. It's all there. It shows the really decent potential for this system to become our next named system, and becoming the earliest F-named storm on record, earliest forming F-named storm on record. So, this was never really clickbait or anything at all. This was a real possibility. So, just make sure you really know what you're talking about before you're like, oh yeah, this isn't gonna happen or anything. So, but anyway, again, the potential is really there, and it does look very likely that we will see Tropical Storm Fay from this. So now let's look at the Wikipedia page for the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. Again, we've gone through 5 names already, through Edward, through the E name. Now we're looking at the F name forming pretty soon. So we've had a total of 5 named systems, and really the 2 storms that caused damage this year so far is Tropical Storm Bertha and Tropical Storm Cristobal. So now we have a total damage of above $543 million, which is very impressive, especially for this early on in the season. Total of 5 deaths, majority of the deaths associated to Cristobal, with causing 4 deaths, 1 death was caused by Bertha. So, you know, we're really just cranking through all these names very quickly, and you know, just really, I really hope anyone who lives along the coast, from the Gulf Coast, really, and all of the East Coast, just prepare now for August and September, because that's the peak of the hurricane season. This year's peak looks to be one peak of a hurricane season that we probably won't soon forget, really. This will be one hell of a peak. So, you know, just really prepare now. And even if you really don't live along the coast, if you live inland, also prepare for this as well, because, you know, even if really the most major effects from, let's just say, a major hurricane are felt right along the coast, which obviously that will be the case, it can still bring very damaging and disastrous effects to areas inland. You know, we saw that with Harvey, really. Harvey just really caused a lot of damage and flooding along coastal Texas, but also a lot of flooding and damage towards inland Texas, around Houston and a little farther inland as well. So, you know, just really prepare each time, really, like you're going to be impacted by a hurricane, honestly, because even a tropical storm can be pretty disastrous. So just really prepare as soon as possible. But you know, that's really it for today's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, subscribe below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.